So the next panel is all about celebrity, and G.E.M has very kindly agreed to join the panel. So you've heard her singing, you're going to hear her talking. What I'm going to do, obviously, social begins, I believe, with, or I firmly believe social begins with celebrity. Celebrity drives social. So I'm going to name the names of the panelists that are going to come out, and then you guys are going to go crazy. We're very, very lucky to have this panel. It's a fantastic panel of people who work with celebrities and celebrities themselves. So I'm going to say the names, then you go crazy, okay? We have Tan, who is the owner of Hummingbird Records, who discovered G.E.M. We have Terry McBride, who built the careers of many household names, including Coldplay, Avril Lavigne, and Sarah McLachlan. We have Dom Lau. Dom is Asia's Ryan Seacrest. He is also the drummer in the greatest rock and roll band in the world today. And then finally, we have Hong Kong's Twitter royalty. Ladies and gentlemen, go crazy. The panel with Jay Oatway.
Well, thank you all very much. It is absolutely an honor to be on stage with so many amazing celebrities and people who have produced amazing celebrities. Before we get into asking everybody questions, though, I want to point out that this panel isn't just about creating music celebrities, that each and every one of us now are micro-celebrities in our own careers. Our own brands matter. The company that you're working for may not be the company you spend the rest of your life with. People will Google you before you go into the next meeting. They're definitely going to Google you before you go apply for your next job. You have to treat yourself a bit like a celebrity. You've got to be able to learn how to build that brand and how to leverage that brand. So what we're going to talk a bit about today isn't just about how you go and build a celebrity, because I know most of you in this room aren't really in that business. But we're all in the business of building our own celebrity. So I'm going to turn it over to our panel here a bit today to talk a little bit about how we can all build celebrity. And I think we'll start a bit with Tan. Could you tell us a little bit about the work that you've actually been doing with G.E.M and how that might apply to people in the business world?
We started her career about 5 years ago, and it all started with a YouTube video. She was at that time about 16 years old, and we asked her to just do something in front of camera that you feel is funny and you want to share with your friends, right? And she pulled this goldfish face that I don't know if she's willing to do it right now. She did that in front of the camera and did 9 different expressions of different goldfishes, feeling happy, feeling sad, feeling different feelings, right? And put it online, and it generated hundreds of thousands of hits, which at that time was a lot of views, right? And from there on, we started showing her playing music. After people have known who she is, we share what she actually likes to do a little bit more, which is music, writing, and then basically share her whole career, how she record, how she practices and everything, put it online, and that's how everyone got to know her later on, and they know her by her artist name G.E.M, and they know how she started, when she quit school, when she got signed, and all this stuff.
And that's important, you know, for everybody here to realize that when you're trying to use social media, it can't just be about your brand message and communications all the time. It needs to be a bit more personal, right? We need to find a way to connect with the person, not just the brand message.
Yeah, you can't just force what you want to say on people. You got to really interact with people, and you're going to constantly keep yourself being interesting. Not just interesting for yourself to express, but interesting for people to hear what you want to say. So a lot of things you have to apply in their humor, different type of emotions, and wacky things like things that people haven't seen, or social cause, things with a social cause. So you create a common ground for people to understand what you're trying to say and share your same feeling that you're trying to express. Yeah.
Terry, maybe you could unpack that also a little bit more for us. What sort of stuff should people be sharing? Like if we want to go beyond just our 3 best friends, laughing at our cat joke. I mean, what should we be sharing online?
I think you should share your intuition. And your intuition really is what you feel in the moment that's authentic to you. I think the power of any artist, and I think artists need to see themselves also as probably the most powerful brands. You know, we tend to look at them as, you know, celebrities. To me, they're not celebrities. They're like brands. And they have brand values. And their brand values are their life values. It's what they share. It's what they like. It's what they believe in. It's what their causes are. So I think to share that, and it's authentic, will resonate really, really well around the world, because people just see them for who and what they are. And that's how you build a real relationship versus, you know, what we see out there a lot, which is just a push relationship. I'm like trying to sell you something. Artists, I don't think, are trying to sell you anything. What they're trying to do is express what they love, which in this case is music. And they express it honestly, and that cuts through everything.
I make the same argument for the social CEO. I mean, for somebody who's running a business, and you're a CEO, it's about talking about the stuff that really matters to you, what you really love. It's more than the marketing message, right?
I only, you know, tweet if I have something that really affects me. So I might go 3 weeks without tweeting, or I might tweet 3 times in one day. There is no set pattern to it. It's not part of some timeline that my marketing department's laid out in front of me. I ignore that. So it's based on what I love and sharing what I love. And as such, people see it as just being very honest and very intuitive.
Now, Dom, I'm going to get to you right now, but I'm going to set this up a little bit by asking the other panelists here, you know, we've just been saying, oh, it's all about the heart, it's all about your intuition, it's about these things. Come on, isn't it about the numbers, right? Celebrity's about like having millions of followers, right? That's what matters, millions of followers, no?
Well, certainly, if you look at, as far as a celebrity standpoint is concerned, Lady Gaga, I believe, has the most Twitter followers.
Just about 30 million.
Just about 30 million followers on Twitter. And there's a reason for that. You know, it's because certainly she's made a huge impact in the music industry. But the most important thing, and correct me if I'm wrong, guys, but the most important thing I think for any artist is their fans. Without the fans, that artist isn't going to thrive. And when you look at something like Twitter, for instance, which, you know, is something that I use as well, and as Terry was saying, it's a way to be organic, it's a way to connect with your fans. Fans are able to connect with Lady Gaga, for example, directly, without having to go through, you know, buying or a book about her or reading magazine articles and things like that. So I think the amount of followers is actually, it's very important in a lot of aspects. You could argue that it's irrelevant. Some followers, you know, some people just, I know for a fact that some people, you know, will ask people to follow them just for the sake of following them. But in Lady Gaga's instance, I don't think that's true. I think it's very
there's some
organic.
stats out, actually, just recently, and those in the music industry probably know, a company called Status People produced a app that goes through your Twitter following, determines how many of them are fake accounts and how many of them are inactive accounts. Rihanna got blasted in the media because she's got like almost nothing in the way of real followers. Gaga's numbers aren't much better. She's about 30% real followers. So that puts her in like the 9 million category, which, by the way, is still massively respectable. I think everybody would love to have 9 million people following your brand. But it's you're right, James, to your point here that there's real community and there isn't. But it's not about the numbers then, right? It's not, I mean, the numbers matter to a point, but you wouldn't let the numbers drive what your decision to produce in terms of content.
I think in the first place, people follow you because you have something to say. And if you started chasing that number and just giving them whatever you assume they like, then you've lost yourself. And if you lost yourself, there's no reason why they're following you in the first place. But of course, you can't ignore your crowd because, like I said earlier, it's all about interaction. So finding that right balance that interact with your fan but without losing yourself, I think is the key in here. You got to really believe in your intuition, as Terry would say, and like your gut, basically. You got to listen to your gut, but at the same time, analyze what that intuition is telling you and follow it with maybe analyze the number or maybe like pay attention to, are you being too annoying, too repetitive? Am I like forcing them to listen to me, or am I still being interesting? Keeping yourself interesting and relevant, I think, is very important in this situation.
I mean, we're in the emotions business. Artists write songs, but those songs are the emotions that they're like feeling. Social media is all driven by emotions. So those two join together. I mean, music's probably the most shared, you know, media or emotion on social media, and there's a reason for that, because if you share a song you've already attached your own emotion to that song, and you're saying, this helps to represent and shape who and what I am. And I think, you know, it's an emotional business, and it has been for thousands of years. And, you know, when, you know, social media is gone, it'll still be an emotional business.
And I think that's something that people in the business world should be aware of as well. The content that you're producing to put out there, a lot of people think a lot about their brand messages, but what they really need to be sharing is something that's got an emotional charge to it, something that other people are going to want to share and pass on, something that either, as Tan pointed out earlier, makes us laugh, makes us smile, makes us cry, or maybe even makes us outraged.
It's storytelling. Artists tell stories, and brands should tell stories. You know, they should tell their story, or, you know, the whole Twitter and the, you know, Japanese earthquake. That will be one of the most emotional things that everybody in this room takes away from this day's event. It's a real-life emotional event that actually happened, and this is how the social media interacted with it. You will never forget that story, because it was a story. As much as I love the stats and they, you know, fascinate me, I'll have to write them down because I won't remember them. They'll be very, very good when I have board meetings, but they won't be part of my, you know, social talking over light coffee, where the whole Japanese story will be.
So, what would you say your story has been so far on Twitter? Do you think you've been using it as well as you can be?
Well, okay. I guess I was a little slammed on the Lady Gaga thing, but as far as followers are concerned, I think in my line of work anyway, and you know, where on a weekly basis I'm just essentially reporting on what kind of entertainment news is going on, not just here in Asia, but in Hollywood as well, and around the world. You know, a lot of people look to Twitter for things like gossip, and gossip sells. You look at all those colorful magazines when you walk in like Bookazine or any of those magazine stores, people buy those because they enjoy gossip. They enjoy, you know, reading, you know, the success stories or the demises of a lot of celebrities. And what Twitter and things and social media does is it allows the celebrity, him or herself, to either quantify, justify, or argue against. And that in turn creates a lot of, you know, buzz. And you'll see that on the show that I host on E! News, we follow very closely a lot of the celebrity tweets. Certainly if there's a lot of news surrounding them in the media, we will look at their tweets and we will quote them on their tweets. And at the end of the day, if their official account, you know, if it's Charlie Sheen or whoever, we all know he's famous for his rants, but if he's coming out and saying something, you got to take that as the truth because it was Charlie Sheen that said it.
So your story becomes the curation of the entertainment industry story.
Sure.
You're the gatekeeper who can say, these are important stories, these are the hot stories, these are the interesting stories we should be watching, this is what we shouldn't be watching. Do you think brands can do that too? Like they can look at their industry and be the Ryan Seacrest of their own empires?
Well, certainly, like, if things are trending, because trends are very important on social media as well, on Facebook and on Twitter. And you'll look, you can, you know, on the Twitter website, you can find out what the hot topics are that are trending around the world, i.e. what the world's basically talking about. And, I mean, I'm not in that line of work, and I'm no expert, but if that sort of thing happened with brands, i.e. if there was big news in the world of, like, I don't know, let's say the recent Apple story, and Apple versus Samsung and stuff, that was a hot topic. That was trending. So a lot of people now click on, you know, hashtag Apple or hashtag Samsung and stuff. That becomes big news. And the more people talk about it, the more likely it is that we're going to want to talk about on our show, and in turn the rest of the world in different forms of media.
So guys, what advice can we give Dom here to help get his Twitter following
some more followers.
up into the Lady Gaga level?
How many real followers do you have?
I
said
that's
real.
very hard to say. What was the name of that program?
It's called Status People. Bakers.statuspeople.com.
I don't know. I honestly don't know. And, you know, I'm as much, you know, when I sit on this panel and here today, I'm as much a part of the learning process as the next man, you know. I don't have as many followers as Ryan Seacrest does. And I don't necessarily want to have as many because, as you say, sometimes it's just you'd rather probably have as we were talking about before, maybe 150 people who matter to you and your brand and your product or whatever it is that you are, whoever it is that you are, than 200,000 false followers. Having said that, though, I still do want to catch up with Ryan Seacrest and show him who's boss.
All right, so Terry, what advice can we give Dom? What would you suggest, besides using his intuition?
I think we should get you to a karaoke bar.
Cool.
And we should do
With G.E.M.
With G.E.M. And do maybe 6 or 7 really good covers and 2 or 3 bad ones.
Mm-hmm.
And then have the general population get a poll voting on what your best one is. Mm-hmm. And that allows them to then judge you, whether you like that or not. But more than anything, I think that would drive your numbers way up.
What is the? I mean, I'm very, very curious to know how people. I mean, as you put the question out, how people get more followers, and and how relevant that actually is. Because some of the stuff I write on Twitter, okay, is absolute gobbledygook. Okay.
That might be your problem.
That might be my problem right there. That might be my problem right there. But there are loads of people out there. I mean, there are bloggers. Bloggers now are making a lot of money off Twitter, and as a result of Twitter, rather. Are you guys familiar with Xia Xue, the Singaporean blogger? And she's got that damn official verified Twitter thing, that little blue tick.
Doesn't it make you jealous?
It makes me highly jealous. I'm real.
What does that do?
I'm actually Dom Lau.
I don't know about
Why
that.
am I not verified?
What is that tick?
Xia Xue, the little blue tick, the little blue tick, that means you are real.
All right, okay.
I'm
Means
real,
you're that
damn it.
actual person.
Okay,
So
it's like the
person who's actually
Is there anyone from
tweeting
Twitter
here
in
is
here?
not real.
I mean, my answer to that, and I think where you can really add that value, is that curation of entertainment content. I got to 100,000 followers on Twitter by curating technology and social media news. And not only just curating it, not just like grabbing headlines, putting it in, but respinning each of those headlines so that somehow magically within 100 characters, I added my own little secret sauce opinion to it, left space for the URL and space for it to be retweeted. And I mean, there's a sort of a grand haiku art of poetry to that sort of happen. And it's a lot of work. And the thing is, you got to really up the consistency and the quality and the quantity in order to sort of start getting more and more people to retweet it and spread it around. But I agree, Terry's right. I mean, you got to make a little bit of original content, a little original social currency that you can share around that'll travel some distance.
Well, I am in a band, speaking of like going into a karaoke bar, I am in a band called Uranus, as you know, and Jasper introduced it right there. He is the bassist of that band. You can follow us actually on @UranusRocks.
I'm not sure that's going to help you, though.
Well, you can then decide for yourselves whether, we can like do a few covers and do a few originals as well. And you can just, decide whether or not we are the awesome band that I know that we are.
Tan and G.E.M, to you guys, what's been the best stuff that you've created in terms of things that spread across social media? It's had a really strong sort of currency value that's carried a long ways.
Well, of course, for an artist, like music video is one thing that they constantly go and rewatch and re-listen to. That's one of the most viewed content on our thing. But apart from music video, would be things that she's just facing a webcam and really open her heart and talk to the fans and tell them how she's feeling.
G.E.M, is that scary? Is it hard just to be just a person in front of a camera with knowing those people? No, you're good with that?
Yeah, I'm good with that.
Do you think that's something, though, that as a performer, it's easier for you? Do you think that a lot of people say in business, if they had to sit down in front of their webcam and just come up with a video like that, what advice would you give them? How would you get them over their stage fright?
Oh, wow. I don't know, because I trust my team. It's like I don't know how to cook, but I have the ingredients, and then I put on a table, and I let my team to do it for me.
Well, but maybe that's the answer.
That turns me into the chef then, right?
But maybe that's the answer for people in business as well. If you don't have
if you
all
don't
the
know
skills
what
yourself,
to do, just don't do it.
get the right team of people.
Yeah, and then for me, it's like you have to be true to yourself. And if you have something that you really want to share, but you don't know how to, just find some other people help you to express. Yeah.
Well, she's lucky to have a team of people that know how to deal with social media. But for all of you here that's trying to figure out how to deal with social media, I do think that first you have to learn how to do it yourself. If you don't understand it yourself, you will not be able to understand the impact it has because it's constantly evolving. Every day there's a new Facebook API that's coming out. Every day there's a new thing. And you don't have to be really on the forefront, but at least you have to ride with the wave and really understand the impact it does. And without that, nobody else can help you with it. And because we work as a team, and I as a CEO of the company, I was forced to really adapt, to really learn about all the social media stuff. And at the end, I become like a person who learned how to edit a video. I know how to film things. I know how to take pictures and all this stuff, simply because I want to learn about social media. And if you don't put yourself out there to really learn about it, you'll be behind everyone else. All the 16-year-old kids, 12-year-old kids are doing this. They live on it.
Absolutely. I'm looking around like town, and there are 5-year-old kids with iPhones and things, and they know more about how to use these things than I do, and most of us ever will. And these are the people who are going to be the pioneers of sort of the next generation type of thing.
But Terry, I mean, you're a social CEO in my mind. You can't just let the kids in the company do the social media. You need people at the top. I mean, grown-ups, don't you, to sort of say, you can't trust the 5-year-olds with the iPhone, right? Or am I wrong?
I think I trust a 5-year-old more than a 50-year-old personally, because they're not basically biased by like everyone else's thoughts. I lose my iPad when my son's not doing something else. And I accept that, and I watch with amazement how he intuitively uses what an engineer built probably to do something else. And that's absolutely fascinating. And we live in a very social media society. I mean, when we signed Wantine back in 2008, it's because she sent me music via Facebook. We spent 3 years making that record, but during the whole time that we made that, she would do a video almost every week from her one-bedroom apartment with her cat and any friends that happened to come by that day. And by the time that we released the record, like 8 weeks ago, a demo of every single one of those songs had already been played. And she was already at like 8 million views on like Youku. And she'd already built a social base. And it was very interesting because trying to get a major record label to work with us within Asia was very difficult till we had her come over and do a show in Beijing and Shanghai. She did one tweet, and both of the shows sold out. And that's when the major brand within the music business saw, wow, like what's going on here? But I had to persuade them to release a Chinese artist. And that's one of the hardest things I've had to do. And we had to do it by actually showing them that that the work had already been done. And what we needed was a mechanism to get the CD out there properly. And that was all based on social, but it was all based on her being very authentic. So I'm not afraid when my kids play on digital devices because they're being so creative. I mean, my son's favorite game right now is Minecraft. And he sits with his sister, and they're building houses. And so his spatial and his wanting to make his sister happy, which is not normally the case, comes to be upon that. So what I am seeing is a piece of technology create an emotional connection with the two kids. And to me, as a parent, that is so gratifying and so emotional for me. So again, I mean, I always go back to it being emotional, and it being authentic, and it being really about your intuition. That's the opportunity that allows everything else to basically go.
I've got a son, about 7 years old. He's also very much into Minecraft, and as a parent, and what I'm trying to coach other parents on again is to try and push them in that way to become producers, to be people who are creative in a way that's creating stuff of some sort, rather than being consumers. Also, I'm out there trying to consult businesses in the same way. I'm trying to get C-suite executives to also embrace this idea of kind of trying to create some sort of content, to create this sort of authentic sort of presence. What advice would you give to grown-ups to try and get them to put more stuff out?
It's not that hard. It's a story. And we've all got stories that have affected us. And we might be part of that story, or maybe it's a third-hand story. Talk about stories. Talk about why you do things. I mean, why do I do music? It's because I love it. And I won't work with music that I like, but I'll work with music that I love. And as such, I'll say why I love it, why it's meaningful to me, and why I will do this. And it's no different to the sort of yoga side of my business. Another emotional art that's been around for thousands of years. Just like music, it's because I passionately believe in what yoga does and what it does for us both physically, spiritually. And guess what? There's yoga music called, kirtan, so I'll promote kirtan music. So all I'm doing is promoting things that I passionately love, not like. If I like something, I'll just be a fan. Because if I try and push something that I like, I'll lose my ass. Is that a swear word? Where if I work on something that I love, then I'm not working. I'm loving, and I'm passionate. And that's what I do, and I love every moment, and I'm very blessed to be able to do that.
Dom, do you see, you watch a lot of the celebrity Twitter accounts. Who's doing this sort of thing well? Who's out there talking about what they love? Who do you like in social media for this stuff?
Well, to be honest, I think it depends really on who you are a fan of. And as I say, the whole social media fad is just a new link in the chain of this circle of evolution in the industry, in that, where an artist releases an album, people hear about it, they see it on TV, and then the artist tweets about it, and it creates a chain reaction. It's very important. It depends on who the fans are of that person, and so I can't actually pick out any one celebrity or two celebrities, who are doing it very well. They're all doing it well.
I think there's a big part to this thing that we're talking about is letting the process be your marketing product. Instead of fabricating something that is not there, find a pretty girl, hold your product and say, hey, this is a great thing. Your process of you making this and trying to market it is already a marketing product that you need to express and you need to communicate with your users or customers or fan base, whatever it is. And being able to be a good storyteller, like Terry said, to tell people how hard you work on your product and how good it is, and at the same time educate them why they need this, why they need to, why is this function so important. Steve Jobs is a great example. He teaches people when he's marketing things, right? He teaches why you should use your finger instead of a stylus, why you want to use a touch screen phone instead of tapping on keyboards, right? And all these things, when you're telling your story, it tells people what your brand is, and it draws the right people to be your customer and fans at the end of the day. And that's the craft that we got to constantly work on to be a better storyteller of what we do, and also, of course, do great things.
Also, connection is very important as well. I've seen and heard stories of people following someone like Kimora Simmons, okay, who has a show on E, and people will often write to her, as I'm sure they do a lot of other celebrities, and when they get a response from that person, I mean, they're just so elated. They then go on a tweeting spree and a Facebook spree telling everybody, hey guys, you'll never guess what, Kimora Simmons spoke to me, she responded to my tweet, and that in turn, that person then sends that out on their Facebook and Twitter page to however many thousands of other people. In turn, those thousands of people then start following Kimora Simmons, and that can only be a good thing, certainly for her and for the product that or the service or the product she's selling.
That's a real change, though, in celebrity. There was a time where it was really hard for a celebrity to really engage with individuals. When you've got that many people following, if you go to a mall and you're being swarmed by thousands, sure, you can stop and sign a few things on the way by, but it's a pretty shallow interaction. But on Twitter or Facebook, you can actually, if you can spare the time, stop and talk to people. Terry, your artists do a fair bit of that, right? They spend a lot of time chatting with people. Does it make a difference?
What they're doing is they're constantly tweeting or on Weibo or whatever it is, and they're, to your point, they're talking about the journey.
But are they talking to other people as well?
Absolutely. They will engage totally. And it's the most, as you say, it's sort of the stickiest, action, because you're actually getting a response from the artist. It's not a PR company, or it's not the record label, or publisher. It's the artist. And it's the artist's chance to say what they really think and say how they really feel. And sometimes that can come back on you, but if you're authentic and you believe in what you're doing, then you should stand behind what you're actually doing. And I wouldn't say to artists, don't go and try and defend yourself. Your fans will defend you. So you got to have a thick skin, right? Yep, but realize that your fans who love you for what you are, they will go out and back you up. Because there's always going to be the detractors, which I love, because it makes for a much bigger story. But just be honest and just say it as how it is.
And brands who are dealing with crisis communications could live by that as well. By the time you get into a mess on social media, it's really too late to be looking for fans. And it's really too late to be digging yourself
And that's
deeper
when you
holes.
need to look at the opportunity. Everyone looks at a sort of crisis as how do we shut down the negative, not understanding how this universe works. Where there's any negative, there's also positive. Go for the opportunity. Within any crisis, there's an amazing opportunity to shift. And when you shift and people see you shift, they move with you, they respect you, they understand that you're human. And that's, one of our greatest gifts is to forgive and to understand.
Well, it's that connecting with the real person. Like you were mentioning how exciting it is for people to feel like, wow, I actually connected with that artist. People the consumers, when they're dealing with businesses, feel the same way, that they weren't just shoved off and having to deal with the spokesperson, the PR end of it. If they actually got a C-level executive to stop and say, yeah, I hear what you're talking about. Merchant Branson's fantastic with this. He's always on Twitter and he's always talking to people.
If we could get the lawyers out of the PR piece when there's a crisis, and allow the CEOs to do what they do really, really well, which is to lead, a lot of these crises would turn into opportunities.
Tan, do you have anything else to add to that?
Yeah, I think going back to what you were saying, like how this brand started, right? We all have stories to tell, whatever product you sell, right? If you don't have the skill level to tell the story yet, pull the right person in, like G.E.M was saying. It's like bring celebrity in, not because they have thousands and millions of followers, because they are better storytellers. So if you find the right celebrity to work with your product, to tell people in general, like why your product is better and what you're working so hard on to get ahead of other brands, I think that's a really important thing, how celebrity and social media can come in place to help brands that are just getting into the social media.
Well, I see Tom Crampton creeping up on us.
I'm arriving with the scythe.
Father Time says that we're running out of time. Any final questions for the panel, Tom?
No final questions for me. I think it's been a fantastic panel on celebrity, and I think that we've learned a lot. And G.E.M was a fantastic concert. Thank you very much for that performance, which was really wonderful. So a round of applause for G.E.M and our celebrity panel. Thank you very much, Jay.